Practicing arpeggios is one of the most neglected areas for almost every guitar player, so to help you learn more about the study of arpeggios, we're going to check out how to practice arpeggios on this week's Guitar Blog Insider. Well, this lesson is going to present you with a study guide for the foundational triad arpeggios. The guide I've put together for you has a focus on developing the ability to comprehend the fingering shapes. It covers how to drill the shapes using arpeggio exercises, and it has a few guitar licks to help add the arpeggios into your own repertoire. So let's not waste any more time, and let's get started. In step 1, we're going to learn the pattern number 4 arpeggio shape given off of a G root from the 6th string. And what do we want to start with here is just memorizing the shape, understanding first of all where the octaves are. So in the pattern 4 layout, we've got an octave off 6th string, 4th string, and 1st string. And you want to understand how everything's sitting on the neck so that you can memorize the shape. So you understand, hopefully, your theory good enough that in a G major arpeggio for a triad, we've got G, B, and D. Then we're going to see how it repeats. Upper G up there. So G, B, D, G, B, D, and then a G up top. And you want to work through different fingerings. Once you start getting the shape memorized under your hand, then you can turn a metronome on and, get the metronome ticking away in the background. Just play it on the beat at first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And you also may want to change fingerings a little bit. When you get faster speed, sometimes it's nicer to reach forward with the 3rd finger and be a little bit more in position because, you always have that slight weakness with the small finger. So if you moved it faster, let's say 8th notes, you could practice start moving over with your 3rd finger to grab the D and the G and the B there. So here we go, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And that's going to work better for you too when you move up to the 8th note triplets. So 1 and a. So when you got that feel of a little bit faster duration, those are 16th notes, so 1E and a 2E and a. When you move it to faster durations, you're probably going to feel like that ring finger moving up into, I'm going to shut the metronome off for a second, the ring finger moving up into that 5th fret, in this case of the G anyway, to do that reach from the major 3rd to the perfect 5th on the same string there. You're going to need maybe to have that ring finger for some of your faster speeds. It just kind of, the small finger is just, it's kind of weak, especially because you have to roll it over and just have it. I mean, you could practice it and develop it. Another thing you want to do is once you get the shape down in a position, change positions a lot. That was G, but move it up to A. And move it to, to C or something. Just move it around your neck and get your technique up on every position, on every fingerboard area. And remember, position just refers to where your index finger is located in case you're working with charts or you're drawing stuff out for other people. But anyway, that is step 1 with all your arpeggios. That's what you want to start with, is just get the shape down, memorize it, get a metronome on, and build some decent speed. I would say probably, 16th notes up at around maybe 90, 92, if you want to push yourself, even take it to 100 or something like that. But that would really solidify the fingering, get the shape really organized, and it'll help your left and right hand coordination to be able to, blast the shape out on the neck. So anyway, that wraps up step 1. We'll come back in just a moment and talk about step number 2. I wanted to make a quick announcement regarding the members area. I just completed the last episode of the popular Quick Licks lesson series. There's 30 episodes on the site now, over 8 hours of lessons with nearly 100 guitar licks in all kinds of different styles and keys. And it's all free in the members area. But my announcement that I wanted to let everyone know is that there's a new series. Its purpose is going to be helping players with their rhythm playing, and it's called Quick Riffs. We did the licks already, so that's going to help you with your lead playing. Now we're going to focus on the rhythm playing. Now, the lesson plans for this new series roll out on May 31st, 2017. If you need help with your rhythm playing, this new series is going to be fantastic for you. So if you're not a member of the site, sign up. It's the 24 hours a day, 7 days a week guitar school on the internet. Visit creativeguitarstudio.com to sign up. In step number 2, what we're doing now is we're saying, okay, we've got this chord that we're working on, we've got the arpeggio pattern. why don't we try to put it to use and do something musical with it? So in step number 2, this is the idea of maybe, grabbing a loop pedal or your favorite audio recording software and laying down a vamp, just the 1-chord vamp of the G major chord in this case, because that's what we've been working on. So you just lay that down as a loop, and you start working at creating some melody over the chord jam using this particular arpeggio shape that you're practicing. So whatever arpeggio shape that is, you just match the chord to it, create a quick loop, and then you try to do some musical things with it. So I'm going to hit the loop pedal right now. I got this chord in there, and what I'm going to do is just come up with a couple of ideas and musical ideas. All right, so that's all I'm really trying to do is make up something that sounds musical with this batch of notes. Now, granted, it's not a lot of notes. As you go into other arpeggios, like the 7th chord arpeggios, you're going to have another note, so it's going to feel like you maybe can make some more musical concepts happen. But whatever you're doing, use rhythm as the way to push your way through to create concepts that are musical over top of a single chord vamp, because you don't have a lot of harmonic movement there. It's just one chord kind of vamping out. It's going to be a little bit more fun when you're going to be able to switch from one chord to another. But that's coming up in some of the next steps. So we're just going to wrap up step number 2, take a short break, come back in step number 3 with a new idea to practice. In step 3, we're going to look at composing a melodic idea. Now, I have an example melody that covers the sound of this G major vamp back from step number 2. So once you have a sense for creating melody, and you've kind of fiddled around with a couple of ideas, come up with some phrasing, the next thing you want to move on into is, with your recording going on in the background, study some kind of composed idea, something that you can solidify as an idea of your own, that you can remember, come back the next couple of days, and it'll be there for you, even if you have to perhaps record it to help it keep in your memory into the next day. But just as long as it's something that's worked out. Now, this idea that I came up with, it's kind of a staggered 16th note concept. It sounds like this. It's kind of starting there off of that major 3rd, the B note, taking its way from the 5th chord tone into the root, kind of coming back around to that D, the 5th again. And then it's sort of going more into the central area of the arpeggio, jumping up to the 2nd string, just tagging the high note and then coming back. So, compose something like that that's worked out. I'll play it against the loop so you have a better idea how it sounds against the loop pedal here. So you get an idea, it's just something that's a staple now, that's part of your repertoire, something you've developed as, maybe you might not always play the whole lick in its entirety, but maybe there's one little chunk, maybe it's this. Could be just one little piece like that that sticks in your memory, and then when you're jamming on some chord changes and you're putting this stuff into action, you can remember it and pull it out and know that, hey, that's part of that major arpeggio, that major triad concept. I can use that on any kind of major chord, or even perhaps a dominant 7th chord, because the first 3 notes of a dominant 7th chord are a major triad. Just add in that flat 7 to make it dominant. So anyway, know your theory, know how this stuff applies, and once you start coming up with licks, you're going to be able to apply them in a lot of different directions as well. So we'll just wrap up now on step 3. We still got a few more steps to go. Step number 4 is coming up. I think you're going to like this. We're going to shift to another arpeggio pattern and start trying to broaden our horizons with this information. When it comes to online guitar lessons, there's no place better than CreativeGuitarStudio.com. General membership to the site is always free, and paid memberships to access our step-by-step beginner, intermediate, and advanced guitar programs are offered in reasonable monthly and annual packages. Skype lessons are also available if you need more specific instruction one-on-one to discuss the finer details of your guitar playing. Sign up today at CreativeGuitarStudio.com. In step 4, we're going to begin working on another arpeggio pattern in the same quality but off of another string set. And this is a really important element to work on. Is when you first start getting into your arpeggios, you want to start with one shape. Usually I like starting with students off of the 6th string and then moving to the 5th string for another corresponding shape of the same quality. Now we're going to stick with the quality being major. We're going to go off the 5th string at the 5th fret, and we're going to choose a D tone. And the layout from the Creative Guitar Studio curriculum for this pattern is referred to as pattern number 1. And you want to practice the pattern with the same study guidelines that were discussed back in step number 1. But let me just run through this pattern with you. It starts on the 5th fret on the D. Then we have F sharp A traveling on 4th and 3rd strings. Coming up to the octave of D on 2nd string, F sharp and A up on the 1st string. Make your way back down, and then get the 2 low notes, the A and the F sharp, on the 6th string to return back to the root tone again. So I'm going to turn the metronome on. I'm going to start by playing on the chord note. So 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then here's 8th notes, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Now here's some 8th note triplets. So 1 and a 2, 3 and a 4 and a. And finally here's some 16th notes. So 2, 3 E and a 4 E and a. Alright, so that takes care of all of the notes that are part of that area of the neck for covering, in this case, a D. But of course, as you practice these more, I would suggest taking them along the neck. You could take it up to F maybe, G, A. Move it around the guitar neck and find all your positions and, make sure it feels good under your fingers all across the fingerboard. And that's, again, kind of like step 1, just getting used to the shape, memorizing it, playing it with a metronome, getting your fingerings together. And from there, as you could probably guess, we're going to need to do some chord vamping on this. So I'll take a short break, come back in a moment, and we'll check out step 5, where we're going to get a chance to kind of jam on the chord a little bit. In step 5, our focus is going to be putting the chord, that's the new chord for us, the D, into use against the previous chord that we were studying. So, we started with the G chord. That was our initial, jump into all this. And then we learned another pattern off the 5th string, and in that case it was the D. So we had the D after that. And now we want to try to put them together a little bit and really use the whole expression of what the value is of arpeggios, which is, of course, tracking different chords as they come up. So again, using a loop pedal or any kind of audio recording software, you want to record a jam that's going to transfer from the G chord sound over to the D and get that loop into a pedal or into your favorite recording software. And then over each of the chords, start using the appropriate arpeggio. On the G chord, you want to, of course, use the G arpeggio. Then when the D chord shows up, cover the D. You could hear the chords really without even them being played. You could hear the outline so strong from the arpeggio that it's almost as if they're in the background. But I do have these chord changes in the loop pedal. It's just going to be a simple vamp of a G chord up front and then a measure of a D. So we have G going to D. Here it is. I'll fire it up. And then what I want to do is just play over each with the appropriate arpeggio. That's the D chord. Here's the G. Here's the D again. So you can hear how there's that color change, between each of those shifts. And that's really what we want to try to target, is the sound of the D chord shifting back to the G, and then the G coming around back to the D. And there's a lot of half steps that occur in there, in between, the root of the G, let's say, into the movement of the D chord. We've got that half step movement down to the F sharp. We've got the movement from the B down to the A, and there's different colors that were available to us off of the same string, like the F sharp and the A. You could also have the G and the B. It's a bit of a wide stretch on the G chord. So, there's, as you learn more shapes and patterns along the neck, you're going to have a lot more access to more notes as well. But this is what step 5 is all about, moving through different chords, taking one chord that you've developed and trying linking it to another chord. If you find that one measure to move, from one chord to the next is kind of fast, then maybe spread it out. Have 2 measures on the G chord and then 2 measures on the D chord, and that'll give you more time on each of the chords to come up with ideas. But there's still one more step. Step 6 is coming up. I want to get to that because it's a very important one too, and we'll explain why when we jump into it. But we'll wrap step 5 up, come back in a moment with step 6, and I'll talk to you the value about that one next. In step 6, we're looking at just composing a melodic line now once again, this time for both of these chord changes. So I've got an example melody that covers the sound of the G major traveling over the D major. So it's that vamp from step number 5. And here's what it sounds like so you have a bit of an idea of it. So 2, 3, 4. So you can hear there's a double stop chord in there that's played between the 3rd and 2nd strings, the 4th fret, 3rd fret, a B and a D. So we start on the B tone, move to the G, get the double stop, and that's all for the coverage of the G major, and then we're going to move into the D, the G and the D again, get the B tone, but then at that point, we're going to race through a whole bunch of 8th notes here covering the sound of the D. Kind of like just building like a sequence with the arpeggio. And that's one of the nicer sounds that you can have when you're developing arpeggio runs, is the stacked sound of the sequenced line. But this is a really good thing to work on because you're coming up with statements, you're learning how to hook them into the chord of the moment, and the more work that you do on this whole composing side of things, it's going to build the skills that you need to be able to go to the direction of improvisation. So the composing, it's like improvising, but it's very slow and it's very pre-planned. And then when you do improvisation, it's very spontaneous. But you're just taking the ideas that you've developed from all that slow composing work and you're just putting them, into play in a more spontaneous manner. So here's the loop again of those 2 chords, the G and the D chords. I'm going to play this composed melody that I have for you and sort of take the video out. So here we go. The routine that I've supplied here breaks down an excellent way to get started with the study of arpeggio patterns. And you want to keep in mind that there are a number of important arpeggio patterns to learn. They're going to include the triad set, which is the major, minor, augmented, and diminished, as well as the 7th chord arpeggios. And those are going to be the major 7, minor 7, dominant 7th, the minor 7 flat 5, and the diminished 7th. So give yourself a while to get all these shapes down and develop the playing skills to, actually use them effectively. Just keep in mind that the practice routine that I've supplied here for you is going to work for all those arpeggios I just mentioned. If you have any further questions, you can always book a Skype lesson with me or sign up for a membership at the website and just start studying all the guitar courses. You're going to learn all this stuff and a lot more in the beginner, intermediate, and advanced guitar programs that I have on the site. So anyway, I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments section below, so please leave a comment. Thanks for your time, and we'll catch up again next week on my other channel for another episode of the Guitar Blog Insider. If you're interested in learning faster, making better use of your time, and practicing longer, the Accelerating Your Learning Curve ebook is for you. There's over 60 pages of information on how to take control of both the way you learn and the time that you devote to your practicing. Accelerating Your Learning Curve is available for instant download in the View Our Products area at creativeguitarstudio.com. I've got 25 years experience teaching guitar and have written a well-organized step-by-step guitar course. Head over to my website at creativeguitarstudio.com and sign up for a free membership today. Join the thousands of members worldwide who have already enrolled. There's no need to try learning the guitar on your own. Let me help you become the best guitar player that you can be.